The Outer Worlds was one of my most anticipated games of 2019. And when I heard that it was going to be released for the Nintendo Switch in 2020, I got very excited. You guys know I'm a big fan of RPGs, the Fallout series especially. Fallout New Vegas is my favourite game of all time. But a couple of days ago, Take-Two Interactive contacted me and said, "Hey, do you want to review The Outer Worlds on the Nintendo Switch?" And of course I said yes. Today's video isn't going to be a full review. I've only had access to the game for about a day. And if you know The Outer Worlds, you know it's a pretty massive game. I will not have seen everything in that amount of time. Now, did I play this on release on PC? Yes. I know The Outer Worlds, I know it pretty damn well. So I think I'm okay in telling you what I like from this port from the original. In this video, I also want to compare the Xbox One version and the Switch version. Also, for the first ever time, I want to show you handheld screenshots compared to the docked version of the game. So without further ado, here are my first impressions on The Outer Worlds. For those of you living under a rock, The Outer Worlds is an open world RPG. If you're thinking this is going to be a massive open world, then you're going to be disappointed. The Outer Worlds is in segments. You generally have a big open area and a city. And to get to other worlds, you need to use your ship, the Unreliable. This isn't one of those games where you can start the game and travel anywhere immediately. You are limited, but the feeling of progression is amazing, and I think it really does work in The Outer Worlds. Throughout the story, you meet new companions, and you grow alongside your character, and I think that works really well. And that is all here. There is no difference. This is the full open world that you get in the PC and other console versions. But, and there is a pretty big but, some things have been downgraded. Now obviously, I expected this, they're putting a pretty massive game onto the Nintendo Switch. Now the Nintendo Switch isn't the most powerful console, but I will say I'm very impressed with the Nintendo Switch in terms of how developers have been able to put these amazing games on the system. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, for instance, is a fantastic port. It looks like the big console versions. So what's missing from the Nintendo Switch version? Well, a lot of trees. And I'm going to show you a couple of screenshots here compared to the Xbox One version. As you guys can see here, yeah, there's a definite difference. Obviously, there's missing trees almost everywhere in this game. Draw distance as well has been shortened a lot. Now I'm going to show you this clip of me walking towards this building. And as you guys can see, as I walk towards it, the textures become more detailed. Now, the version you were seeing before I get past that point is the low level of detail version. This is what you would generally see in the distance of a game like Skyrim. Now, normally in a video game, this would have loaded in before you even notice. Now, of course, seeing as this is running on the Nintendo Switch, that isn't really possible. And they've obviously had to take a few sacrifices here. And yes, this is noticeable. I noticed it immediately. And as you walk away from it, you can see it change completely. Now, I will say this is jarring. If you're running this on a big TV, you're going to notice this immediately. This is also the same for NPCs. Here I am walking towards a raider camp. And yeah, you guys can see that they pop into existence. Now, for sniping, this is an issue because, of course, you can't snipe someone who doesn't exist yet. Obviously, you want to try and stay far away with a sniper rifle so you can get some good shots in. And this draw distance definitely has its negatives. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, I'm going to show you these negatives because I believe that everyone who plays this game will encounter this at some point. Another really odd thing is that there seems to be a lack of enemies. I was travelling along a road and came up to another bandit camp, and there were 3 or 4 bandits already dead when I got there. Now, for some reason, there are only 2 or 3 people actually alive there. The rest were somewhat dead, which I don't really understand. In the original release, I remember them all being alive. I don't know exactly what's happening here. What I'm assuming here is that the Nintendo Switch wasn't powerful enough to have all these enemies on screen at once. So what the developers have done is as soon as you get to a location, it's just killed off a couple of these NPCs. and that's why they're just dead on arrival, literally. Now, I will say this may be a bug, and it's something that I noticed when I arrived at these locations, because I know for a fact I didn't kill them, so it's just like, well, hang on a minute, if I didn't, then who did? It was very, very bizarre. And the last thing I wanted to point out, load times. I'm going to show you me entering Edgewater, and go. Yep, I'm going to let this play out, because I want you to experience the full load times of this game. I'm not going to edit or anything here. These load times are pretty long. I will say I was kind of confused, because I assumed that they would be a little bit quicker seeing as they're on cartridge, but that's not the case. They obviously have to drag in a load of information into the game about Edgewater, because Edgewater is a pretty big town. There's a lot of detail, there's a lot of NPCs in here, so that kind of makes sense. Obviously the CPU is going to be struggling a bit to try and get everything loaded in, so when you enter these towns, all of the NPCs and stuff are going to be there and ready to go. And there you have it. That is the load times to Edgewater. They're quite long. I'm hoping with the patch they may be able to shorten these. I'm not sure. But apart from those things, I think that this version holds up really well. This is a fantastic game still. The game is still intact. The Outer Worlds you played in 2019 is all here. And what I want to do is show some more comparison shots of the Outer Worlds and the Xbox One version, just to show you how close this version is. So, talking to someone in dialogue, this looks fantastic. It looks incredible. One thing I did notice on the Xbox One version, if you look at her ear, you can see that kind of sunlight coming through her ear, and it's kind of transparent. That looks really nice on the Xbox One version, but of course that's not on the Switch version. Also a really interesting screenshot is when you first enter Edgewater. So you guys can see here, this is the Xbox One version, and here is the Switch version. Now, apart from the different time of day, I think this holds up pretty well. Obviously, the Xbox One version's textures as a whole are a lot better, but I don't think that the average gamer who's playing this for the first time is going to notice this while playing. Now, I did want to show you what this looks like in handheld mode. So as you guys can see, the resolution has dropped quite a bit, but this is in the palm of your hand. You're not really going to notice this. And I'm going to flick back between the two. So here is docked, and here is handheld. Obviously the biggest things you notice are Cantina is quite blurry on the handheld version. So one last time I'm going to flip back to docked. As you guys can see, you can make out Cantina no issue. And it may sound like I'm being negative here, but I'm really not. I want to show you what this looks like and compare the two. I think that's definitely important. Apart from those small issues that I've mentioned, this is a great port. It's well worth picking up. This runs at a constant 30 FPS. I didn't see any drops in my time playing so far. When I entered Edgewater, the frame rate stayed constant. Now, one thing I've always heard, and even myself, I'm not too big on using the analog sticks on the Nintendo Switch for first-person shooters. I find them a bit too small. So what they've done here is they've added auto-aim if you wanted it, so you can turn that off and on, which is very nice. But also, they have added in full motion sensing. So if you're aiming at an enemy with a sniper rifle or whatever, you can tilt the switch that little bit just to get that fine precision. And I've always said that I love motion controls when it comes to gunplay in games. I think it works really, really well, as long as the sensor's good, and I will say the Nintendo Switch has no issues there. Now, you can have this set to use as the main camera, or you can have it only when you're aiming. Now, personally, I only use this when I'm aiming, but yeah, the option is there, and that's what this game is all about. They give you a lot of options. You can even change the sensitivity if you wanted to. If you haven't played The Outer Worlds and own a Nintendo Switch, I highly recommend this. I think it was one of the best games of last year, and I think they've done a pretty good job here. I really do want to see a couple of patches for the stuff I did mention, if that is possible, but this really doesn't seem to be a cash grab. They have put in these features, as I just mentioned, and it really does seem that they put effort into this, and I'm really glad they did. I want to thank Take-Two and Obsidian again for the review code. I will be playing a lot more of this, and I will probably end up doing another update video at some point soon. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, comment down below, tell me what you thought of the comparisons I showed you. But until next time, that's me, out. Bye, guys.